Good evening to all pro wrestling fans of all shapes and sizes from all around the world. Welcome to another Pro Wrestling Talk video brought to you by Blitzball Champ Gaming here on the U to the Tube. I'm your host, Blitzball Champ Jason Ingram. Big breaking news that I wanted to get on here and talk about and give my thoughts on. So, I figured I might as well just go ahead and show it. So, here we go. The big breaking news courtesy of WWE. There you have it. It has been confirmed that WrestleMania 43 will be going to Saudi Arabia in the year 2027. Signed, sealed, confirmed. Triple H and company, accompanied by other wrestlers, including Stephanie Vaquer, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, were part of the announcement. And of course, they had I guess it was the King of Saudi Arabia or whatnot. I can't pronounce his name. I can't pronounce his name. I don't know how to pronounce his name. But had a lot of people present, a lot of wrestlers present for this, and nobody in the audience or anything like that. But they had a handful of wrestlers for this announcement. But yeah, WrestleMania 43 will be taking place in Saudi Arabia in 2027, 2 years from now. Now, it's interesting. So I got a couple of things just after hearing about this, because there was some speculation even before this day that was hinted that this was going to get confirmed, and even Triple H himself had posted that, hey, big breaking announcement that was going to happen, which happened at, I believe it was 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, something I felt was definitely slowly building up. But I mean, we have to think about this. Like, let's really dissect this. So, couple of things. One, can we really be surprised that this is happening? Yes and no. Being that they signed, I believe, what was it, a 10-year or 15-year deal with Saudi Arabia. I mean, after all, they've been doing Crown Jewel and other shows, for the last few years in Saudi Arabia. Well, I figured it was only a matter of time before they would lock in a WrestleMania. I mean, we already know that Royal Rumble next year will be in Saudi Arabia. So we already know that. So, honestly, it was only a matter of time. I really feel like it was only a matter of time before this would happen. So I can't say that I'm too crazy surprised. I mean, yeah, they pulled the trigger. Secondly, I now wonder, which, who knows, it might be safe to assume that we're going to get Raw, SmackDown, probably NXT Stand and Deliver, and 2 nights of WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia in 2027, because that's typically what they do. They do SmackDown, Raw, the Hall of Fame. There's also the Hall of Fame. Stand and Deliver, and 2 nights of WrestleMania. So, unless something drastically changes, that's kind of what I'm expecting for them to kind of stick to. But we'll see. Anything can change. Anything can change. Third, now, I can't say that I've been really keeping up with, any sort of laws or what it might take to even, fully go to Saudi Arabia. But the last thing that I heard is that you have to have a visa to even enter there. Passport isn't enough. So, if anybody knows any differently, let me know. But last thing I heard is you had to have a visa to even get into the country. So, I mean, judging from a lot of international friends and just people that I've bonded with through when I did international ministry, visas aren't very easy to come to, they aren't very easy to get. And it takes a process. So it kind of made me think about, because there's some fans out there that are, I would think, are faithful to WrestleMania being a tradition for them. And with this being out of the U.S., is something that folks are going to have to consider how they're going to get to Saudi Arabia to see this. Also, I got to be honest with y'all. I'm kind of surprised that for the first time to really have a WrestleMania outside of the U.S., I am a little surprised that this will be the first one. The fact that it's in Saudi Arabia and not like the UK or France or Japan. You know what I mean? That is a little bit of a shock, just a little bit. That making history with the first ever WrestleMania outside of the U.S. and it's going to be in Saudi Arabia. Can't say that was on my bingo card for that to be the first, but here we are. That's how it's going to be 2 years from now. And apparently word is that, I believe it was, they were originally going to shoot for 2028 or something like that, but I guess Saudi Arabia wants it a little sooner than that. And supposedly $100 million has been invested into this plan. So, definitely, they were very serious about this. Very serious about this. Well, it's going to be interesting. I know there's a lot of mixed opinions out there and whatnot. I mean, after all, me being someone, I've never attended a WrestleMania. The only closest thing that I attended was WWE World a couple of months ago when I went to it in Vegas. But I have gone to the cities last year and this year for WrestleMania week for other shows that have come into town, like GCW The Collective, Stardom, TJPW, Spark, many more. Which brings me to my next point. Being that typically WrestleMania week, many other promotions, indie promotions outside of the U.S., typically come together during WrestleMania week for some shows. Well, being that WrestleMania 43 will be in Saudi Arabia. I am not so sure that's going to be easy for those promotions to be able to do if there is some interest in doing that. I'm not so sure that's going to be easy to do. And just being a lot of what kind of stemmed before up to this point. Because you got to remember, next year's WrestleMania was originally supposed to be in New Orleans. And then that got changed to Vegas, which we had it in Vegas this year. It's going to be back in Vegas next year. And then all of a sudden, bam, WrestleMania the following year, 2027, will be out of the country, Saudi Arabia. So, honestly, when I really look at this, I think what it comes down to, TKO has a big, big, big power play in this. Not only just, Saudi Arabia and whatnot, but TKO is trying to hit bank times 10 times 100, well, times 100 million. But I think definitely this has got to be a TKO thing. I think this is mainly a TKO thing. Because I just really feel like this is going to really put a view on WWE and TKO that a lot of people are not going to remember for it being a good thing. And I can totally understand. And like I said, WWE is getting a whole dump load of money for this. So, I just, not only that, just with how, how certain, where it is, how laws are there, and just, a whole bunch of other things, it just, I don't know how it's gonna come to fruition. I just, because the thing is, it's already expensive and difficult enough to even go to a WrestleMania here, especially within the last year or two. Like, it's difficult to even get to WrestleMania here. Especially when it's costing folks one or two mortgages. Especially, I feel for fans that usually like to take their families or multiple people and go together to WrestleMania as a group. Now it's like, how difficult or easy or whatnot is that going to be in 2027? When now you got to factor into not only the costs for the WrestleMania ticket, but also travel. It's already enough travel, to the different cities within the U.S. But now when you got to fly out of the country, and, that's not necessarily a next door country, but that's going to really jack up the price. So, I don't know. I really don't know. And like I said, I know I was talking to some friends and whatnot. I was talking to some friends and was thinking about what possibly could be done as far as other promotions, maybe, AEW, GCW or whatnot. Perhaps maybe considering an idea of doing some sort of pro wrestling festival in the States during WrestleMania week or whatnot. I mean, I don't know if that's something that they would consider to try to do. Maybe AEW could kind of be the center point. But I don't know. I don't know. This is just thoughts. This is just speculation. But and don't get me wrong. You know, I know a lot of people want to say, "Oh, this is WWE's fault" and whatnot. I mean, at the end of the day, this was their choice. I mean, at some point, these promotions have to be able to take risk and also fend for themselves when it comes down to it. As much as collaborations and partnerships can be beneficial, you don't want to solely depend on those in order to keep afloat. You're going to have to take some risks when it all comes down to it. You look at TJPW with the Texas tour. That was a risk. Let's keep it real. That was a risk. Sure, Tokyo Story was involved and whatnot, but still, it was a risk. Because at the end of the day, it's a Japanese promotion trying to make a profit and trying to put on a great show outside of their home base country. So, of course, any and every time they do that, it's going to be a risk. Just like, same thing with Stardom. Same thing with New Japan Pro Wrestling. And others. I mean, yes, the collective, cool. I've participated in the collective 2 back-to-back years. But you don't want to solely depend on that to carry you through. Because at the end of the day, competition is still a thing. After all, we have all these numerous different pro wrestling promotions all around the world, of all shapes and sizes. Minor, major, indie, big time, the works. So, another thing, who knows? Maybe these promotions may shift gears and maybe try to consider doing something like with Mania Week, maybe instead. SummerSlam. Maybe SummerSlam. Maybe AEW All In. I don't know. It's just, like I said, these are just thoughts and ideas that I'm just throwing out. Because I do understand that for the last couple of years, you know, that seems like that was the trend or the tradition that all these other promotions would come through during Mania Week to get a slice of the pie. And that's fine. I get it. I get it. But now, when I have to plan for 2027, something to think about. Something to think about. And they might want to consider thinking about it now. Especially now that WWE has made it official with the announcement. So, I mean, I don't know. But we'll see what happens. Like I said, I can understand, you know, frustrations. Me personally, I don't think it's a great idea for them to do this, but at the same time, I had a feeling it was going to eventually happen. I felt like it was only a matter of time before there would be a WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia. But it is what it is. Like I said, I typically don't go to WrestleMania mainly because it's crazy expensive. I would have loved to have gone. I would have loved to have gone this year, but it's crazy expensive. So, I mean, it is what it is. And I just feel like, me personally, I get my money's worth, at the other shows and promotions. Kind of similar to like what I did in Japan. And that was, you know, one of my favorite vacations. And I cannot wait for Japan round 2. Looking so forward to that. But, like I said, it is what it is. I mean, I know definitely I won't be going to this WrestleMania, that's for sure. And honestly, next year, I doubt that I'll be going next year. Like, in all honesty, I don't even see myself going to WWE World next year, mainly because when I went this year, I pretty much saw and met pretty much everybody that I wanted to meet. So, honestly, I mean, I don't know. I just, yeah. I know, and like I said, I know a lot of folks have a lot of different views and opinions on this, but yeah. I know, looking at that announcement, that press conference, it didn't look like Stephanie Vaquer wanted to be there. It didn't look like, didn't look like Liv wanted to be there. Didn't look like Charlotte or The Undertaker wanted to be there. But I mean, it is what it is. This is happening. This is gonna happen. So, yeah, yeah. Well, the only thing I can say is, for anybody planning on going to WrestleMania 43, only thing I can say is hopefully it won't be too difficult for y'all to get in if you're really set on going. Like I said, I don't know how easy or difficult it'll be. I'm under the impression it'll be difficult, but I don't know. And the only other thing I can say is, for those that plan on going, hope it was worth it. Hope it was worth the trip. That's all I can really say. I don't think it will be, but I could be wrong. But I still stand strongly by the fact that when it comes to just WWE, especially TKO and whatnot, when it really comes down to it, it just goes to show that they'll do anything to make the big buck. I mean, it is what it is. I don't agree with a lot of the decisions, but I'm not surprised either. That's all I got. Let me know what y'all's thoughts are. How do y'all feel about this big announcement of WrestleMania 43 in 2027 being in Saudi Arabia? Let me know your honest thoughts. Let's talk about it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell while you're at it. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. For another Pro Wrestling Talk, brought to you by Blitzball Champ Gaming here on the U to the Tube, my name is Jason Ingram. Hope everybody has a blessed weekend, and I will see y'all in the next video and or live stream. Peace.